When in our Sunday Gospel readings for this year, we heard the Beatitudes, which begins the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew's Gospel, we heard such lines as, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are the meek, blessed are the lowly." And we hear much of the same sentiments in today's Gospel, which is still a part of the Sermon on the Mount, but is an example of how the Beatitudes are a summary of many of the principles that are being preached upon in Matthew's Gospel. And when Jesus says, don't worry about what you are to wear, what you are to eat, don't worry about tomorrow, don't worry about how you are to be clothed, God knows what you need and God will provide, he is basically saying again, blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are the lowly. And it's actually by happy coincidence an appropriate gospel to hear on this particular Sunday as we rapidly approach the beginning of our season of Lent, which begins, believe it or not, this Wednesday. And I really should not say believe it or not because it's a little later this year. It didn't really come upon us as quickly as it did last year. But what is it that we do during the season of Lent? We engage in spiritual exercises that are designed to help us grow in recognizing how much God blesses us as individuals and as a community of faith. If we enter into the season of Lent and its practices with full honesty and integrity, then this is the benefit. After all, what are among the things we do during the season of Lent? We do things individually that help us grow in our individual relationship with God, and we do things as a community to help us grow as a community of faith. As a community, what do? We have 2 days of fasting, Ash Wednesday and Good Friday. Time was when it was every day during Lent, except Sundays, the practice of fasting, curtailing what you eat. We didn't fast on the Sunday, but every other day we fasted. We curtailed what we ate. But now it's a grand total of 2 days. And some people can't do that. We also abstain from meat on Fridays. It's not something we do for our own gratification, although there are benefits to us. I, for one, am a lover of salmon. If tuna is the chicken of the sea, salmon is the prime rib. But there are people who have often told me, I don't give up meat on Fridays, Father, because I don't get anything out of it. And my first immediate response is, it's not about you. It's about eating turkey on Thanksgiving. It's about shooting fireworks on the 4th of July. We do it together to bind us as a people. And as Catholics, it's not that we can't eat meat, it's that we don't. It's an observance that we do together to bring us closer as a community of faith that binds us with all Catholics and hopefully all Christians throughout the world. It isn't as much a sacrifice. Fish sticks is a sacrifice, okay? But this is more an observance than a sacrifice, whereas fasting on Ash Wednesday and Good Friday, it is a sacrifice, curtailing what we eat, and a tremendous discipline, especially for people who have difficulty curtailing the amount that they eat. But we also do things as individuals, and there's the ominous giving something up for Lent. And of course, I got to hand it to you folks. Sometimes during Lent, I wonder if we try harder to be good Catholics or good lawyers. People always, they may know nothing else about the tradition of the church, but they will always know what they think are exceptions during the season of Lent. But what are we doing when we're giving something up? Hopefully it's something important to us. Hopefully it's something we enjoy. And we are, in fact, inviting temptation. Think about it. In the Lord's Prayer, we say, lead us not into temptation. During the season of Lent, we say, bring it on. We can handle it. Because what happens? It's like any exercise. I'm going to do 50 push-ups a day, and by the time I get to maybe 30, your body is starting to say, no, maybe I'll just do 35 or 32. The temptation kicks in to stop sooner. And when that happens, we turn to God in prayer. We don't give in to the temptation, but we ask God to give us strength. And in giving something up, hopefully we recognize the many gifts that we can do without, but we take for granted. I have a favorite one I always expound, and I'll save it. No, what the heck, I'll tell you what it is now. I had a friend who once told me if Mother Teresa's community can bathe without hot water every day all throughout the year, how much more can I give that up in my shower during the season of Lent? Do we ever think about that and how fortunate we are? And that's just one of the things I like to throw out there. I always tell the kids at the school, first graders give up candy. Eighth graders give up video games. And when you think about it, it's the easiest thing in the world to give up. I know, tell that to the eighth grader, but it is a very easy thing to give up. I call it the syndrome of Ulysses being tied to the mast. What did he do? No matter what I say, don't untie me. And of course, as he hears the harpies on the boat, he's screaming, untie me, untie me. He wants to jump into the water, and they can't hear him, but he had already told them, even if they could, don't untie me. Kids, pack up your video games, hand it to your parents, say, hide it, don't give it to me until Easter, no matter how many conniptions I go in during the next 40 days. Parents can be proactive in that as well. But what does it do? It brings on temptation in which we turn to God in prayer for that strength to endure. And what a feeling of resurrection it must be when on Easter Sunday we take back something we've come to really appreciate is a gift that God has given us. So when we go into the season of Lent, truly, without excuse, but with a sense of sacrifice, with a sense of growing closer to God and to one another as a church, without looking to the exceptions or saying, well, I don't give something up for Lent, I do something extra for Lent. I remind people it's prayer, fasting, and almsgiving, not prayer, fasting, or almsgiving. But when we truly go into it with an open heart, a pure heart, with a focus on what the goal is for all of us as individuals and as a community of faith, then we are truly living today's gospel. Put our faith in God. God will provide. God will give us the strength to continue our resolve during the season of Lent. God will give us the strength in our exercises to bring us together as a community of faith during this intense period of growth in which it takes us over 40 days to prepare for our highest holy days that takes us 50 days to celebrate. And so think of today's gospel over these next couple of days and especially throughout the season of Lent. What practices, even the traditional ones we are obliged to enter into, and even those who aren't still do because they see the spiritual benefits of it, how are we seeking first the kingdom of God, not our own comfort at a time of sacrifice and spiritual discipline? How are we showing that we don't worry about the material things of this world, but our focus is on the strength that God gives us to truly grow as a people of faith and as individual followers of Christ? And as he says in today's gospel, a favorite line of so many people from the Gospel of Matthew, seek first the kingdom of God, and everything else will be added. Let this season of Lent, as we begin on Wednesday, and as we make those final preparations during these next 3 days to enter into the season of Lent, let us have that be our focus, that we are not engaging in self-punishment, but we are engaging in exercise that helps us to seek first the kingdom of God, to overcome our attachment to this world, to recognize the many gifts that God has given us, even some we don't even think about and may even take for granted, and to truly grow in our connection with God, in our gratitude for what He gives us, and in the connection that we all have as a people of faith as we engage in these days of fasting and abstinence, and in our exercises of prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. Let that be our goal this Lent. Seek first the kingdom of God and its righteousness. And in that, we will hearken back to the spiritual principles of our Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are the lowly.